It's time. What's up, Schwartz Force? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see in the title of this video, it's time to compare the Reef Tiger RGA3035 with the Blancpain 50 Fathoms reference 5015. Wow, that was really out of focus. My goodness. There we go. That's better. Now, the reason, of course, is because I'm going to be sending the Reef Tiger to its new owner. So I definitely wanted to do a side-by-side comparison and show you the differences between these, as well as a lot of the similarities. As you know, I've been a big fan of the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, and I picked up the Reef Tiger to kind of scratch that itch, and not knowing that 2 years later, just about, I would be buying the actual Grail watch. So I really hope you guys and gals enjoy this video, but before we get into these watches, quick wristwatch check. Hey, did you know it's a great day to wear a watch? Boom, today I'm rocking my Tudor Pelagos blue. Let me know, Pelagos? Tudor recently announced the 39mm version, obviously the black dial, which I know a lot of people are stoked about. Me, not gonna lie, 42mm wears great on my wrist, and I wanted the blue version specifically. Now, when Tudor releases the 39 blue, yeah, it's gonna be a problem. I'll probably sell this and buy that one. Okay, but anyways, let's flip this camera around. Check out these two amazing watches. I think the best place to start with both of these watches are actually the measurements. As you'll quickly see, the Reef Tiger isn't a one-to-one copy of the Blancpain, but it's similar enough that it will give you a fairly accurate experience of how the real 50 Fathoms wears on the wrist. The Reef Tiger is just slightly smaller in dimension, slightly thinner, and has the much more common lug width of 22mm, which allows for way more strap options, which we'll get into later. There are other similarities as well, such as both watches being made from 316L stainless steel, which is all in high polish on both the case and the case backs. Both feature hex screwed tube bars that hold the straps in place, as well as a 120-click unidirectional bezel filled with superluminova. Both watches have three-hand movements with date complication, and these movements allow for hand winding and hacking and feature screw-down crowns and screw-down case backs, but this is pretty much where the similarities stop. Now, these are both actual dive watches, with the Reef Tiger having 200 meters of water resistance and the Blancpain 50 Fathoms having 300 meters of water resistance. From a design standpoint, the Reef Tiger does a great job of copying a lot of those unique features of the 50 Fathoms without being a direct copy. So for example, we see there's the lumed bezel insert, but it doesn't have the graduated markers from 12 to 15, but does copy the stick markers, the diamond at 12, and of course the 15, 30, and 45 Arabic numeral markings also. I do wish the Reef Tiger would have copied the 3, 6, 9, and 12-hour markers, but it's similar enough to still give it the overall look of that 50 Fathoms dial. The date at 6 o'clock is different, and having it with a white date wheel makes it stand out a lot more than how it appears on the 50 Fathoms, which of course is tucked away nice and neatly between the 4 and 5 o'clock hour markers. Now, the lume on the Reef Tiger is amazing for the price and was the best lumed watch that I had in my collection for a long time. However, it's inconsistent between the bezel and the dial. The lume on the Blancpain is much more evenly applied and also lasts much longer, which should be expected. And you can see the Reef Tiger starts to fade quickly compared to the Blancpain side by side. Now, the movements on these watches are night and day, while even though both are automatic, with the Reef Tiger using the tried and true Seiko NH35 movement, beating at 21,600 vibrations per hour with about 40 hours of power reserve, the Blancpain is using the in-house caliber 1315 movement, which boasts 120 hours of power reserve with the use of its 3-barrel design, and features a silicone balance spring which beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour and is protected with an iron inner cage within the case for superior resistance to magnetism. Finishing on the movement is phenomenal. You see that anglage edging, and when you look at how this watch performs on a time graph, you know instantly where all the money spent has gone. Now, a good analogy between these two movements would be like comparing the Toyota Camry next to the Lexus LFA. Both are respected and beloved, but for very different reasons. So I don't think I've ever truly understood why these Haute Horology pieces are held in such high regard until I started getting up close on them with a macro lens and seeing for myself. Seeing the extremely fine sunburst effect on the dial of the Blancpain, it looks like it's a matte black or a high gloss black, but when you get up close, you realize it's an extremely fine sunburst. Also, the micro brushing on the centrifugal lines of the chapter ring, looking at the finishing of the applied white gold indices and hands, the application of the lume, every edge crisp and clean, the clarity of the dome sapphire crystal, giving an appearance to the watch as if it were wet. The smoothness of the crown when winding it, almost silent as well. The clarity of the printing of the dial, the engraving of the case and the case back. Don't get me wrong, the Reef Tiger is a good watch. It functions as intended, but it's absent of all the small things. The printing is clear, of course, but the legibility of the watch as a whole is just not as good. The crown is finicky and it feels rough when winding it. The edges, as we see here, are not as crisp. The coin edge of the Reef Tiger bezel, for example, just looks flatter in comparison. And the machining of the case around the crown is not as clean as the Blancpain. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that the Reef Tiger is a bad watch. In fact, I think it's an incredible value piece. It's just that with the Blancpain, there's no compromises. There's no corners cut. Nothing is overlooked. It's truly in a completely different league in terms of quality. Now, we have to talk about these straps. Earlier in the video, you may have noticed the alligator strap on the Blancpain, which is extremely comfortable and really high quality. It has a nice rounded and padded bolstering effect near the lugs that tapers thinly at the ends. There's also, of course, the sailcloth strap from Blancpain that came with the watch, which has a very robust feel to it. It's also a bit thick as far as the padding at the lugs and has a nice tapered, flexible end, which gives it a really pleasant feeling on the wrist. But because these straps are quite expensive to replace, I've actually opted for what is, in my opinion, the best sailcloth strap option out there. Dollar for dollar, the Artem Luxury sailcloth straps are the best thing you could get. And if you have a dive watch, regardless of the value, I promise these straps will elevate the look and appearance of that watch. And I'll compare these Artem straps with the actual Blancpain straps, as well as the deployant clasps, side by side in my full Blancpain 50 Fathoms video, so definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. I want to put a lot of work and effort into that video, so I hope you'll enjoy it when that time comes. The Reef Tiger strap is decent, but it's nowhere near the quality of the Artem straps. The Tang buckle has the look of the 50 Fathoms buckle, however, it's a bit too thick, so when you have the strap buckled in, you can see how much thinner of a profile the Blancpain has versus the Reef Tiger. And it's just a bit bulky and it's not as well refined. The strap is more of a nylon material, not sailcloth, and while it does have those reinforced keeper holes and the contrast stitching, after wearing this strap for quite a while, you see that it has some fraying on it, and the texturized rubber on the underside shows a lot of creasing over time. So the strap feels like it's softened up and loosened a lot compared to when it was new, versus my Artem straps, which I have worn a lot on different watches, and they still basically look brand new. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in checking them out. I highly recommend them. There we go, guys. The Reef Tiger RGA3035 and the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. Now, I'm not a watch snob. I love homages. You guys know I built my channel starting with homage watches. I've owned tons of them since then, and I'm still buying them just to kind of scratch the itch, get some fun out of it. I think they're great. And I like that the Reef Tiger is such a banger for the price. You're getting a lot of similar features and design elements, but it's not a blatant copy as we saw in this video. But I want to hear your thoughts. I kind of want to know, because I feel like a lot of my subscribers, there are different spectrums of the watch community. Some are just diehard homages only. Some are just luxury pieces, or no homages. But I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Obviously, seeing the side-by-side comparison, are you working towards a grail piece, and do you have any homages in your collection? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop me a comment. I got like 2 more watches on the way. I haven't even reviewed others, but that's just how it is. I am busy, and I hope y'all are too. Stay safe out there. Till next time, as always, may the Schwartz be with you. Take care.